Welcome back, everyone. A very important subject tonight. In fact, I recorded a video on this particular subject over a year ago, but I never uploaded it, so I'm going to do it again now. It's about labels, and unfortunately, the Democrat Party especially is obsessed with labels. Obsessed with labeling people, and they certainly have labeled the Republican Party as racist. They were the party of abolition, and it was the Democrat Party that was the party of slavery, Jim Crow, and the KKK. Well, you see, they have to do that. They have to do it because they have to take the spotlight off of themselves. And I'm very surprised anyone who is of African descent in any way would belong to the Democrat Party. Why would you belong to this party? Party of racism, basically. Now, let me tell you a little about my relative. He marched with Martin Luther King, and his poster was put up all over the South. Picture of him. Basically, it's not wanted dead or alive, but wanted dead, to be lynched. He was Italian, which are considered half black in the South. He was gay. He is gay. And he was marching with Martin Luther King. Definitely three reasons why the KKK would put his picture up to be lynched. And he belonged to VISTA, which was the American version of the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps was for helping poor communities around the world outside of America, and VISTA was to help American poor people. And then he was one of the founders of the Human Rights Campaign. Human Rights Campaign, the founding principles of that was that it was equality, just like Martin Luther King. It was not about the color of your skin, but the content of your character. And you know, the color of your skin is simply depends on where your ancestors lived in proximity to the sun. Some got a lot of sunlight and some got less sunlight because your body needed to produce vitamin D. You need a certain amount of sunlight in your body to produce vitamin D for certain health issues and to prevent birth defects. And if you lived where you didn't get much sun, you were very light because you had to absorb more sunlight. And if you lived at the equator, where you got a lot of sunlight, you didn't need that much sunlight, so the body produced the melanin to allow in just enough sunlight to produce vitamin D. That's all skin color is, as simple as that. So that issue really should be put away because that's all it is. And what matters is your character, just like Martin Luther King said, who you are, what are your talents. The Human Rights Campaign, gay rights, it's about equality. See me for me. I want to openly love my partner. I don't want to be seen with a label of gay. I'm saying I'm not gay, but I'm saying this is what the community, the gay community wanted. They wanted to be seen as equal, as no different from anyone else. See me for me. I'm not weird. I'm not an alien. See me for me and what my talents are, and my intelligence and my humor, all these other things that make the pieces that make up a human being. See me for that. Don't put a label on me. And my relative said that the perfect world will be when we no longer put labels on people. We no longer say, oh, Harry over there, my black friend Harry, or my gay friend Sally. We don't put these, or my Muslim friend Hashim. You know, it's just that we don't put these labels on anyone. This is my friend, and that's my friend. Oh, they're a lawyer, or they're a cook, or whatever they do for a living, but we don't put a label on them. And it was Leo Buscaglia who had a PhD in love. He was called the Doctor of Love. It wasn't about sexual kind of love, though he was homosexual. And he's dead now. He died of a heart attack. He had so much love in him. He tried to get us to love each other because we were humans, not sexually, but just love the human being, the soul inside of that person. And I remember an interview I saw. He took the person who's interviewing him out in his garden, and the garden was all overgrown. I said, oh, don't you trim anything? Don't you? No, I call this God's garden. All the plants are growing as they want to grow. They are who they are, and they're growing as God designed them to. And that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And he said, in one of his many speeches, he was talking about labels, because this was a very important thing in gay rights and civil rights. Labels. Because he said, I'm going to say some words and something is going to come to you in the front of your mind when I say these words. Tell me what you think. Or black, white, red, yellow. Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, gay. And he said, I bet a lot of things came to you, to the front of your mind. Every word that I said. When you put a label on someone, it's like covering them with a sheet that says, say they came from Asia and you wrote yellow all over it, because they're considered yellow-skinned people. Yellow. Everything that person says is going to be filtered through that sheet that says yellow, or Asian, or Korean, or Japanese, whatever it is, it's going to be filtered through that. Or if the person is gay, you're going to be looking at them through that label. Everything they do and say is going to be filtered through that label. Your prejudices against people who might be black or white, whatever color, skin, or religion, it's going to be filtered through that. So whatever that person truly is, say this is from 1 to 100, through that filter brings it down. Who they truly are, you've actually decreased who they are to possibly 56%. You're not saying this is a good person, or this person is talented in this particular art, or this person is knowledgeable of this. You're not looking or listening to the person. You're filtering everything they do and say, or they're better if they're gay, or they're better if they're straight. Whatever it is, it's going to be filtered through that. And unfortunately now, it's all about labels. And you have to blame the Democrat Party for this, because they had to put the label on the Republicans as the party of the KKK and Nazis, when it was actually the other way around. And Nazism is a form of socialism, which the Democrats are clearly becoming socialist. And it's interesting that in socialism that there's the idea of non-personhood, that the state comes before the person, which actually does make everyone equal, doesn't it? You're just a cell in the state. You lose your personhood. Yet they claim to be the ones that are not racist, the Democrats and the Socialists. They claim this. But they're the ones who are throwing the labels all over everyone. It's Jussie Smollett, who is part half African descent and half Polish-Russian Jew. And he's gay. So he is in a protected community, except for the half white part, but he's put into a protected community, and he's a Democrat. And he is a social justice warrior. He's a fighter against Trump. If you know anything about his past, his mother aligned with the Black Panthers. His mother's best friend was Angela Davis, who shot up a courtroom. He was raised as a social justice warrior, and he was also raised to be a model and an actor. And he said when this whole thing, we know this now, this is a staged event that happened. He said it's because he's targeted because he came out against Trump. And clearly all of that was a lie. We know now that was a lie. And apparently somebody he pretended, basically. He had a cord around his neck that he was being lynched. And it's interesting that we are finding out that Kamala Harris, who's running as a person of color, she's part Indian, part Jamaican, looks like the two might be working together. And she's the one who said that she wants to put out an anti-lynching law. And she's a Democrat, which confuses me why anyone of color would be a Democrat. Confuses me. And then a person of color who is a Republican is stripped of their minority status. Very confusing. So this whole thing happened, she's anti, and all of a sudden, and then the Covington Catholic High School boys, who clearly there's a label on them, MAGA hat wearers, Trump supporters, white, male. Clearly, as it turned out, that was also a hoax. They didn't do anything wrong. They were the ones that if a hate crime was committed, it was committed against them. It's a label that Jussie Smollett and the Black Israelites and the Native American that was pounding his drum in the face of this 16-year-old boy. That might have been quite intimidating. He couldn't do anything. This is a protected class. He's Native American. Claimed he was a Vietnam vet, but he wasn't. He said he was a Marine. And everybody hated this kid because he had a MAGA hat on, because he was a man and a boy and with white skin. Big label on him. So very shortly after that, when I heard about this Jussie Smollett thing, I knew right away it was fake. Oh, good God. With two MAGA hat wearers, white men with MAGA hats, poured bleach on him, which is impossible in a polar vortex because it would be frozen unless they threw the bottle at him. That's pretty much the only way you could hurt somebody with bleach in a polar vortex. And they tried to lynch him. Well, that's what he said. And Kamala Harris is talking about lynching. And the interesting thing is that I'm confused, because if lynching wasn't against the law, and when you say lynching, you think of the former African slaves or descendants of African slaves that were lynched. And there isn't anybody today who even has a grandparent that was a slave today. But we still have the Democrat Party around, which is the party of the KKK. So I agree, there's still racism around. Robert Byrd just died in 2011. And like I always say, Obama put his statue up in the Capitol Rotunda and eulogized him. So you could say, who's the racist? And so did Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. But Trump is the racist. Anybody who supports him is the racist. Labels. Putting this racist, and also stupidity too. Anybody who supports Trump. And any person who is of African descent, descendant of slaves, you put a label on them too. They're stripped of their minority status. Even Eddie Johnson, the superintendent of police of Chicago, they've already put a label on him. Oh, well, those police are all Trump supporters. It doesn't matter that this is a hoax. The police, it's the system. Jussie, whatever his name is a victim of the system. But this cop, he was a cop on the beat, and he worked his way up, which is extremely admirable. And this man has seen suffering. He's worked on the beat. He's seen death. In Chicago, there's a massacre every weekend, and nobody says anything about it. Nobody seems to care. And I've said that many times before, and I love that Eddie Johnson said the same thing. We hear about this hoax got more attention than the descendants of slaves that are dying on the streets of Chicago, who are Americans first. Not African American, they're Americans first, because they were Americans, their ancestors were Americans before a lot of the white people came over here from Europe, or anybody immigrating to this country. That's why I always say that. But you've stripped him, and this man does nothing but work hard and tries to fight crime, bring crime down for the sake and the safety of all the people who live in Chicago, which a great majority of them are Black. And their lives should be protected. Their property, they should be protected. They're the ones who are actually working, but all the attention is on Hollywood. Somehow if you're a Democrat, you have to be a Democrat, you're a politician. All the politicians are lined with Hollywood. Democrat politicians are lined with the Hollywood elite. And this is why are they better? It's like you've got this royal class, but then you've got the people, the hardworking people who are actually getting bloodied and beaten and dirtied up, trying to save lives. You've stripped them of their minority status, but the people who have are the oppressed people. When you're saying that Jussie Smollett, it turns out, he just wanted to be the hero, like Blasey Ford wanted to be the hero, and to take Trump's administration down. I believe I said that many times in several videos I made about her. Everyone wants to be the hero, and I heard someone today say that they want to be the hero against Trump. I go, oh, that's good, you're thinking like me. That brings Trump down and all the Trump supporters down, even though it's fake. Why are we putting so many laurels on people who do nothing for a living but earn millions of dollars and pretend? Everything they do is pretend. It's fake. It's a facade. They do Botox and plastic surgery, and they keep themselves young as long as possible. Cher can't move her face anymore, but she's good for still shots. These people we put on, and the Democrat politicians have aligned themselves with Hollywood. And these are the fakest of fake people. Why can't we put a label on them? You're actors. You do nothing but lie for a living. Politicians, you were first, most of you, lawyers who are professional liars. Why can't we put a label on them? But those are the best people. Not the people like Eddie Johnson, not the guys on the guy who worked his way up from a cop on the beat. No, not him. Oh, we know he supports Trump. Jussie Smollett is a victim of the system. We need to destroy the whole idea of labels. We need to go back to the original idea that we're all equal. We're all souls. If there's a God, or if we have a spirit inside of us, we're all humans. And some of us are oppressed more than others. And some people are oppressed no matter what color their skin or religion are. They can be more oppressed than a protected class. We don't think of that. What we are doing is putting some people on a pedestal, bringing some people down, even though they may be, like the superintendent of police of Chicago, descendant of African slaves, like you did to Ben Carson. Horrible names you call these people who are, they're no longer descendants of slaves. They're not minority status because they chose to be Republican. Why? That's an awful thing you've done to them. You've taken their intelligence away. Can't they think? Aren't they allowed to think for themselves and decide with their intelligence? Why don't you just talk to them and ask them why they're supporting Trump or why they're Republican? Why don't you talk to people instead of labeling them and saying they're a racist, and see where they're coming from and why they believe what they believe? And you might say, I get it. I understand that. Oh, I didn't realize that Trump actually wasn't a racist and ended segregation single-handedly when he bought Mar-a-Lago by suing the city because Palm Beach was segregated and Jews and blacks couldn't come to his resort or own property. They couldn't own property in that part of Palm Beach. And the Democrats knew all about it because the Kennedy compound is down there. The Kennedys bought it when blacks could not buy homes in that part of Palm Beach. They knew it and they said nothing about it. But somehow the Kennedys are the ones that are for the black people. They didn't do anything about it. Neither did Ted. Nobody did. Until Trump came along. So he's not a racist. Baloney on that one. And he's trying to decriminalize homosexuality all over the world. Because in certain countries, certain religion that Obama loved, grew up as, it's against the death penalty. Surah 8, you'll find the death penalty. A shower of stones should be rained down on them until they are dead. And so in these countries, either they're hung or they're pushed off the top of buildings or beheaded. So he's trying to decriminalize this all over the world. And Out magazine said that this is what a racist does. This is what racist people do. They do things like this. But Out magazine is for gay people, right? I used to sign every single petition, everything that was sent to me. Sign this because the gays are being discriminated in this country or that country. And it was always Christian countries. It was always for Christian. They never sent any petition to me to send something. Oh, sent it to Putin too. There's Putin. He said something about homosexuals. But they don't kill gays in Russia. But not to any of these countries that actually kill gays. And Obama gave how many billions of dollars to Iran. and it was on the tarmac in cash. And within a week of doing that, they hung an adolescent boy because he was sodomized. He was actually raped by a man, but the guy who does the rape is not considered gay because he's the predator. It's the one that's the victim that gets raped. Just like if you're a woman, you're killed if you're raped. Unless you have 4 men to say that, no, this isn't the kind of woman that would do that. Unless you have 4 men speaking for you, you're killed. It's your fault if you're raped. So the gay community has switched. And instead of standing behind gays all over the world, basically that's allowing these executions to happen. That's allowing it. Because you have to stand behind Obama, who didn't campaign. He wasn't for gay marriage, neither was Hillary until 2013. But Trump was 40 years ago. He came out and said, he came forward and said that anybody who's gay can work for me, come to my resorts, bring your partner, be out and be gay. He supported them all the way back in the beginning of the human rights campaign movement, of the gay rights movement. He supported them, and he still is. He's not doing this because of politics. He did this in the beginning when nobody else did. In fact, he could have lost a lot of business. In fact, he's basically saying, if you're homophobic or if you're racist, don't come to my resorts. Don't come here. Because you're going to see openly gay people, you're going to see black people, you're going to see Jews. If you are a racist, or if you're a bigot or prejudiced or phobic of any kind, don't even come. I don't want your business. That was the biggest statement anyone could make. But Hollywood and the politicians who love Hollywood, who are all fake fakers, have put a label on all these people who support a man who never was a racist and never was a homophobe. And in fact, as I've said before, one iota, a racist, prejudiced, homophobe, whatever, one iota, I would not back that man at all. At all. So we need to get back to basics. Equality. We're all equal. And it's based on our care. Judge us by our character. And if our character isn't good, help us to be better. We need to help each other to be better people. Not throw names at them. Not do a crime against them. Not hate them. But help your fellow human to be a better human. And look at them and say, I believe you can. I believe inside you are good. Except maybe somewhere along the line in your childhood, something happened. But I believe inside you're good. That's what we should be doing. That should be the goal now. No more this racism stuff. No more breaking people up into communities and damning somebody for being a Trump supporter. Let's help each other. The new goal should be help each other be better people. Support each other. And say, I know, yeah, you did that crime, but you know what? Inside, I know you're a good person. You can do it. Sometimes we're kicked off the path somewhere in our lives, and then we can get back on the path, and we need to do that. So that's an interesting little thing for you to learn about what started the Human Rights Campaign, the LGBTQ community, what their original goal was. And I know this because my relative who marched with Martin Luther King helped found that organization. And now it's completely flipped to both civil rights and the gay rights movement. It's completely flipped. Now it's all about labels. Because you get more attention when you have a label, I guess. Depends on what the label is. But let's just help our fellow human be a better person and believe in them. And like Leo Buscaglia, love each other. Good night. Thank you for listening to me.